We've helped with the town of Watson, the town of Gregg with surveys. So Randy Shell got in touch with me and said that you guys were working on your village town comprehensive plan update with Tug Hill. And I know Tug Hill does a great job with all of their services. So there's usually not a charge with that, but we can certainly help with the cost of putting together the surveys and distributing them in the mail. So that's something I told Randy, around the $2,000 mark is what we've given in the past. So that's something that we can consistently give to municipalities in the future. So I think Elena was gonna put together a quote as soon as Coughlin got back to her, and hopefully we can help out with the survey aspect so that you guys can get all of the data you need to put together a good plan.
Thanks, Cassie. And so we do have, luckily that you guys are, it's lucky for us that you're on today, because today the goal of this meeting is to finalize the survey. That's really kind of our goal for the meeting. So the way I've got our agenda broken up for today is to first, we're going to look at the survey questions and see, we'll go one by one, see if there's anything you'd like to edit or modify, you know, knock that out as quickly as we can. And then from there, we're going to jump into the spinier one, which is the procedure. How do we want to get this out to the people? That's really what we were discussing a lot last time, trying to figure out the best way to get the survey out and to collect quality information for the comprehensive plan. So that'll be the second thing we cover. The third thing, kind of just generally want to talk about public engagement real quick, since we'll be talking about, you know, the different audiences that we're trying to reach with the survey. And lastly, if there's enough time, I'm going to just quickly go through and show you what I've been able to pull together for the community profile portion of the comprehensive plan. We've also got maps put together for you, some, you know, proposed maps for you guys to look at and review between now and our next meeting. So just kind of show you where they are in our shared Google Drive and let you know how you can make comments on that. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the survey. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll go from there. Okay, so here's the survey, the online survey that we shared with you last time. What do you guys think about the introduction? Did you like this? Like I said, came copy and paste from a letter that you guys sent back in.
Elena, it looks like somebody's trying to get in here.
Oh, is there?
486-7063.
Okay, that might be Dan. Here, let me.
That's my number. I'm already in there.
No, yeah, I think, yeah, Ruth said I don't see anybody in the waiting room, but.
Interesting. Yeah, I have it says admit.
Well, I
can just close that.
Yeah, you are a host, Matt. So if you see something, feel free to just let them in.
Yep. Okay.
That was my phone.
You're the 486-7063, Ruth?
Yep. Apparently I'm a problem tonight.
Okay.
Not at all. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again, and Ruth, we'll try to explain it verbally to you the best we can, because I know you're not visually seeing what everybody else is seeing on the screen. So right now we're going over basically the introduction to the survey in the online portion of the survey. So this came from a letter back when you guys did the survey. I want to say, was it 1998, Matt? And everyone else, am I getting that date right?
That sounds about right.
So did you guys have any thoughts on that? Did anything you wanted to change to it?
I inherited in 1999, I got elected, so I kind of jumped in midstream to the last one. But I don't remember the survey one. Okay. Can you see what I'm saying?
Okay. Did anyone have any comments to share? Okay, I'm not hearing any. So I think we can, if there's anything that you think of after the meeting, just shoot me an email and we can make those edits. So now our first question is the unique survey code. So for Kevin and Cassie, just a quick let you know, we're going to get into this when we talk about procedure, but the idea is that every household, which is linked to the parcel data that the county has, they'll receive a postcard, and on the postcard, they'll have a unique identifier. And that way we can control who's doing the survey and keep it to residents and homeowners. And it's also designed so that two spouses can fill out the form. And the idea with this is so that we can keep people from doing duplicate entries, and two, keep it to Lowville. Because there will be opportunities further down the line for people to engage more. So did anybody have any thoughts on the survey code? Again, it is, if someone doesn't put in the correct code, they'll get an error message. So if someone just tries to throw in any number, it has to be between a certain range. It's basically based on the Swiss code for the town and village. So that's how that was established. And they're all randomly numbered by household. So there's no way to connect a survey with a household. So it protects their anonymity as well. Okay. So any thoughts on that before we move forward?
I think it looks great, Lorena.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback. Okay. Good. Okay. Well, then we will move on to the first section. So the first section, we're collecting demographic information. And our first part of this is whether or not they're a village or town resident. So then we can mine the data and divide it by village responses and town responses. Then we ask if they're a resident, how long have they lived in Lowville? And then we've got the option of 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 10 to 20, and over 20. And then also they can say if they don't live in Lowville, then we, could remove those from the data. The next thing we ask is, do you own or rent your residence? Give you an idea of occupancy in the town and the village. Next question is, how many people reside in your house and what's their age group? So you can get an idea too of how, kind of almost census-like in a way that you can get people into different age groups and see what your numbers are and compare that to the census and see how accurate the census was, I suppose. But it also helps you identify the different age groups you've got. And the last part of this first section is if you're married or in a domestic partnership with someone who lives in the same home as you. And the purpose of that question is to basically allow for two people to fill out the survey instead of just one. So are there any of those demographic questions that you want to edit? Or are there any that you want to add or remove?
Great. That's good. Looks good.
Thanks. I agree.
Okay.
I think you covered it.
Okay, is that good? All right. Any other thoughts? Okay. Okay, so the next section, if someone answers yes to being married or in a domestic partnership, then their spouse will fill out the next section. So they'll have to, find their spouse and or wait for their spouse to get home or to get them to answer this portion of the survey. So this section 3 and section 4 are both community characteristics, services, growth, and development. So this is where we're asking him.
Lena, real quick, if the spouse doesn't want to answer, is there a mechanism where they can just skip that? Or are they held up with that?
No, we can put a mechanism in there.
Because they might, if the spouse doesn't want to fill out, we don't want to have the whole, want to have the program hang up or the website hang up and end there.
Elena, does it matter if someone fills out the survey and they're not a citizen? Given that we're just coming off the census and the election, does it matter since we just want a reflection of who's in our community? Because you don't ask for that demographic information.
Right. I think the big question with that, Lisa, is whether or not you think it's useful for comprehensive planning purposes. So if someone's, for instance, a new American, a new citizen to the country, there are programs and programming for them. So if you guys wanted to share that kind of information with them or do outreach for that reason, I could see you maybe wanting to have like a citizenship question on there. What are you thinking?
Well, it comes more from the fact that my husband isn't a US citizen. So like he would ask me, should I fill this out or not? And because it's government, he usually can't take part in most government things because he's not a citizen. So that's why for me, it always comes up. Does it matter if you're a citizen or not? Can you participate? It's a survey, but the counties or the town and the village are putting it on. And I just wondered, I don't know that we need to ask people if they're a citizen, but I know in my house that question would come up. And I wonder, we do have a number of, we have a lot of immigrants here. Would they know they could complete the survey if they're not citizens? Cassie, can you weigh in on that thought from a planning perspective? What do you think?
I'm not sure that's more of a legal perspective, I guess, than a planning perspective. I guess that's up to everybody's individual mindset on that. I know that we've had a lot of luck with migrant workers filling out these types of surveys in the past. As long as their name isn't really connected with it, they don't seem to mind it.
And I was thinking I would want them to participate, but I wondered if they would wonder if they could. Like, would that be a question? And I didn't know how you got around that. So that people felt comfortable. Maybe it's just about education.
Right. Yeah.
We can also write in the description underneath this, just kind of like a note, if you are a migrant or an immigrant to the region, you are welcome to fill out this survey. It is not tied to your household, your address, your personal name, anything like that, so that they feel comfortable doing it.
Maybe another reminder. I know that you had a reminder in the beginning that everything is confidential or what have you, but maybe put it as a reminder, this information, nothing is tied to you. It's just, we're just trying to get population data at this point.
And I think that's what I'm driving is I wondered if people would think they could fill it out, because it would be my husband's first question. Can I actually fill this out? And
Sure.
So
I think, I think that's a good question. And I think I agree with you. I think you would want to capture spouses or, heads of household who are, immigrants or migrants to the area, because they are residents and they live, work, and play in the town and the village. So that is a perspective I think you wouldn't want to lose.
Yeah, I've never known of a survey that's denied, specifically denied access to non-citizens.
Hey, Lisa?
and I don't
I don't think it's never really come up that I've ever heard. So
Do they?
Yeah.
Do the migrants actually have addresses?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can think of a number of our local farms that provide housing, and I would assume they get their mail there, and you
I
know,
don't know, because they aren't long-term residents.
many of them are. I mean, when I think of like Mark's Farm and Demco and Graceway.
But usually it's only 3 or 4 years.
But I mean, of course, everything I named probably does not fall within our scope. I was just thinking, I think that they should have a voice if they're here and they're, whether you're a permanent resident alien like my husband or you're here on a visa, you're part of our community. I just know for my husband, because it's coming from government, this isn't a non-for-profit. His first question is, am I allowed to fill this out? Because he knows he's not a citizen and he knows he's not supposed to fill out a lot of paperwork and information. So I just wanted that to be captured, that it didn't matter what your citizenship was. We want to hear from the people that make up our community. I mean, they shop, those folks shop in our stores, their kids go to our schools, and this is all coming out and sounding very judgy. They're part of our community. I just want to make sure they get represented and they feel like they can fill out the survey. Does that make sense, Bob?
Yeah, I have no problem with them filling out the survey. Not at all, but I didn't know how it worked with them I mean, if it just goes, their name goes to the farm address?
I don't.
I don't know.
Well, now you said that and I don't know, because they wouldn't necessarily own. You're right.
I have no problem with them filling out survey at all.
There could be a chance that they're in a relationship, a domestic relationship with somebody who does have permanent residency. So, I mean, perhaps that's some way that they would fill out the survey. I know that there are quite a few migrant workers that are in long-term relationships with, I mean, not to get off in the buckwheat or everything, but if you're looking for the services and everything that they need, perhaps that's who would be filling out the survey.
Right.
Well, if they're a resident and they have a home, is able to fill out. I don't think we want to make it too difficult.
Right.
If they have a resident,
Make it easy so everybody can fill it out. That's here. That wants to.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I was just looking for a simple qualifier in there at the end. It's confidential and it doesn't matter. If you're a resident, you can fill it out.
Yep, we can add that right in. And we can make sure that there's a statement in there so that anybody, whether they're the spouse of what I'm trying to say is we can make sure that that option is in there for that security measures in there, so people know that it's safe and for them to, and they're welcome to fill out the survey if they end up getting it. Now it'll be a different question later on, maybe if you wanted to reach migrant population specifically to hear about what sort of issues are important to them, and maybe this community survey might not be the tool for getting that information, but that would be something you might want to think about.
I don't mean to drag this on, but thank you. Mm-hmm. But it does make me think. My husband speaks English, so we're perfectly adaptable. But when we talk about it, is the survey available at least in another foreign language?
I can translate it to Spanish.
I would think that at least offering that as an option.
Okay. And I did, when I did do the community profile for Lowville, there was a percentage of the population, according to the census data, 5-year estimates actually. So there's a bit of margin of error there, but there was a couple percentage of the population that have Spanish speaking households. So it's not too much work on our end to do that, if that's what you'd like us to do.
I can only speak for myself. I just know that it's nice to feel included. And if your primary language isn't English, it's nice to be able to read it in your primary language and not have to have someone translate for you, because I think they're less likely to fill it out.
Right. Okay. I think I'm going to put that in a parking lot conversation so that we can come back to it. Because if we do want to do that, if you guys do decide you want to do that, then we'll have to talk about putting that on the postcard as well, you know, for Spanish speakers, go to this link. For English speakers, go to this link. Okay, so I have that tabled, so what we can come back to it, but let's, in the sake of time, let's keep moving. So this section, I do need some feedback from everybody, because we've got, the first part is, what are the reasons for choosing to live in Watertown, in the Lowville area? And then select all that apply. So you might want to add some things to this list. And then from there, what we talk about, what discourages you from wanting to stay in Lowville, and that we don't have any options for. So that's kind of what this section is all about. So we've got here job opportunities, rural atmosphere, air quality, sense of community, family and friends, good schools, tax rate, good government, cost of living, low crime rate, recreational opportunities, and quality of life. So floor is open. What do you guys, is there anything else you want to add to the list?
Just put other, and then they can, if they have their thing that they want to put.
Good. Yep. We'll have another in there too. Okay. Thanks, Ruth.
Is this the same list that was in the 1998 survey?
Yes, it was. Mhm.
So it'd be kind of neat if you kept that, then you could monitor, you know, you could compare the two.
Yes, that's a good point. Okay, hearing nothing else. The aspects that discourage you from staying in the Lowville area, that question, did you want to, what I can do is copy and paste all the same things from the first list. I'm not sure what was on the question, on the survey back in 1998 regarding this, which is why I ended up leaving it blank.
Copy and pasting it would be good. Just maybe change for the good things. We had good schools and good government. Maybe change it to schools and government for the reasons why you wouldn't stay.
Yep, that's a good idea.
What's that? High gas prices, right? Right.
Okay.
Dana, this is Mickey, is there something about, I can see about like maybe commuting distance? I didn't know for some, maybe Lowville's kind of like a go-between.
Bedroom community or not?
No, I agree. I think that's a good question. It's a good box to put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I'll put that down. Yeah, we can do a commuting question, like how long does it take you to get to work? And then we can put 0 to 5, 5 or 5 to 10, 10 to 20, something along those lines.
Right, because we've got commuters that go as far as Syracuse on a daily basis, as well as Fort Drum and Utica.
Yep. Yeah, and interestingly, I guess just another factoid from the census data is there are more people, there was an increase in the number of people according to the 5-year estimates. For the year of 2018, more people commuting more than 45 minutes to work than there were in 2010. So that kind of verifying that information in your survey would be really useful.
Yeah, I like the commuting question.
Okay, so I think I'll just mimic the question that's used in the census, so that we can compare that with what's written in the community profile, and maybe even update it to using the information we gathered from the survey. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'd kind of like to know why they are commuting, if it is just that we don't have the jobs here, or if there's a specific thing that they are qualified for that maybe we don't have in this area and could have. I don't know.
That's a good idea,
They
Ruth.
love Lowville, Ruth.
What?
That's because they love Lowville.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Ruth, one way for us to capture that information is if we ask the question, how far do you commute? And then we filter the information so that we look at both. If we filter for, let's say, for people who are 30 minutes or more away from work, and then look at the aspects that discourage them from staying in Lowville, that might get us the answer you're looking for. Or we can just do a completely standalone question that says, if you commute more than 30 minutes, why aren't you working in more locally?
I almost think I'd like it separate, just so that, I mean, maybe we can find out that there's some areas that maybe we could bring here, that we need to bring here. It's just a thought.
Yeah, we can leave it an open-ended question too.
No, Ruth,
But
I think that's really intriguing.
It's whatever the rest of the people think too. So.
Because that made me think that I'd like to know who works here and telecommutes, who chooses to live here, but not only do they don't necessarily have to drive, you know, and how many people is that really for our area?
So I think I heard, Lisa, maybe another question about people who work from home, telecommuting.
Yes. I mean, I just think that would be interesting too. Because then they could be working anywhere with a very unique skill set. And they've chosen to live here for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, it'll give you a good, snapshot of what the labor force, who's going out, who's staying in, and why. Yeah. Okay. So I'll add those two questions then. One about if you're a commuter, why don't you work more locally? Something I'll finesse that a little bit, and then ask a telecommuter question. Okay.
I don't, up above where you had down, you didn't have anything listed for the aspects that discourage you. So I don't know if this helps at all, but I've known 3 military families that have lived in the area. 2 of them were planning on raising their kids in the area and even potentially even retiring in this area and staying right around this area. I know one of the difficulties that actually a lot of them, I think all 3 actually had said, is that being in the Lowville area, or like in probably any small community area, is that there's already tight-knit groups of friends and families that it was really hard for them to get incorporated into the community, which was one of the aspects for, I know all 3 of those families end up moving away. And they're, like I said, all 3 were military families. 2 of them were like retired military. The other one was a military family that was active here, but they were planning on staying when he got out of the military. But I don't know if that's a place to just put something kind of related to that to see.
Kind of along the lines of, do you feel welcome, or something about like almost like a socialization, or have you had opportunity to socialize within the community, something along those lines? Is that what you're thinking, Mickey?
And they didn't say anything bad. Like they said, everybody's good people and everything in the area. It's just, it was really hard for them just to be incorporated because, everybody already has that strong network of family and friends. Most of them do anyways, right in the area. That was really hard. I know one of the things that they mentioned was just even having like some sort of welcoming group or something to the area to kind of bring in those that are new to the area, to kind of bring them together and help them, as far as find things or where to go for things and things like that would have, I think, made a little bit of difference. I mean, one of them was my neighbor, so we kind of took them under our wing a little bit and tried to help them out, but still had a hard time adjusting. And so then they ended up moving away. But yeah, I think something in general, like just kind of broad in general, because I think it's gonna be more of those families that are potential, like, Fort Drum military families that might be looking to stay in the area, or people that don't have any connection at all to the area but move here. Probably looking at maybe, the school or the area, thinking, hey, this is a nice place to live. And so anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there because that was just something that I'd come across with 3 of the families that I've known here that came into there.
Yeah, I think that's any thoughts on that? Ruth, Lisa, Tom, Rachel, Bob, anybody else?
Well,
Go ahead, Ruth.
I was just going to say that the military, they're pretty close knit people in themselves, when they're on base and so on and so forth, because I have family members that are in the military, and they do all kinds of things. And then when you get out here, they don't have that. So, I don't know. Like Mickey said, maybe community welcome. I don't know the answer is.
Yeah,
I can
I don't know.
tell you
Maybe
from a
maybe it's
labor.
just maybe you don't put it in there. Maybe it's just a question. Is there support of it? People that are new to the area having some sort of like welcoming thing. Like I know, like Village of DeFerrier, for instance, they actually any new people who move in, they supply them like a packet of all information, where to go for services and all that stuff to kind of incorporate them into the community a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe it's a question like that. Would something like that be useful for people that are new to the area? I don't know.
Lisa, weren't we talking about that at one of our economic development meetings?
Yeah, so with Naturally Lewis, we're trying to leverage some funding through the Creature program that my office administers to work on that for when new residents move in, and that tailored packet to your area about, the local restaurants, your internet provider, social groups in your area to help with that. Because from a labor force standpoint, we hear a lot when they don't live on base that they don't feel part of the community, and they don't know where to find resources, and they don't know what websites to connect to and things on social media. So they don't know how to find information. It's not as easy when you're not local. So I think including something about, if you're newer to the area, maybe under the how long have you lived here, did you feel welcome? Do you feel like you have access to social opportunities and being able to explore a little bit more? If you don't, would you be interested in that? Because, yeah, Cassie's right. From an economic development standpoint, they've identified that as a need.
You could just ask what would help them, what else that they need, being a newcomer. We years and years ago used to have a welcoming committee, so it might be a good thing to start up again.
Maybe that would be an option to leave an open-ended survey question.
That's what I'm thinking.
That need suggestions from other areas that they've lived in before that maybe we just aren't aware of.
Be good to validate, at least if our perceptions are right, that people don't feel connected. And if people are leaving, can we do something to solve that?
Okay, I've got a couple questions here. I'll see what you guys think. One, I've got, do you feel welcome in Lowville? That would just be a yes or no question. We can also condition that. So if someone answers yes to that, they'd be prompted to fill out the next question. Then there's also another question we could ask. Let's see here. What things would help you feel more welcome in the community? And then have that be open-ended, like Cassie said.
Right.
You guys like that idea? Having those two?
I definitely like open-ended.
Yeah, okay. Then maybe we'll just, maybe we don't even need to do the yes or no question. We can do keep an open-ended question and what things would help you feel more welcome in the community.
I think open-ended sometimes works a lot better because they probably have some thoughts that maybe we haven't even thought of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Good idea, Mickey. Okay, so I'll make sure that that gets in there. Okay, so moving on. So our next question after the what do you like about living here and what makes you want to leave? Basically, after those two questions, we go into kind of like a rating of different services in Lowville. So we've got the first one is services and infrastructure, and we've got a Likert scale, which goes from very poor all the way up to excellent, and they get to choose on that spectrum where they think all of the different services fall. So we've got police protection, fire protection, ambulance services, recreational service, parks and open space, public works. Again, all of these came straight from the previous survey. Zoning code enforcement, building code enforcement, postal service, library service, schools and educational facilities, community-sponsored programs, streets, parks, residential properties, and commercial properties. Pretty extensive list. Was there anything else you guys, any other services you might want to add to that list?
I think childcare is something that is
Yeah.
a deterrent to the area just because the whole county is lacking it. So if that is in your comprehensive plan, it'll definitely help towards grants. Just
Good idea.
What about medical or healthcare?
Yeah. Services.
You know, I remember when I moved here, we didn't have a pediatrician. Like it was a family practitioner and that was it. And then Dr. Palmer moved to the area. You know, I just think access to healthcare, but this reads so governmenty. Like, I'm like, what's recreational service? Like, I don't think people should have to read it and question it to decide how to fill out a box.
Right.
Like, what was the intent behind recreational service? Because you follow it right up with parks and open space. So is it just access to recreation?
Recreational service. Yeah, I mean, that could even just go and keep just parks. I think recreation. I think if I were to see it on the survey, I would think like a YMCA maybe type thing. But again, yeah, we could be more explicit.
And maybe that's what it needs to be. Recreation / gyms or, you know.
Things to do. There's not a lot of things for children to do, really.
Like we have parks and open space and then parks again at the bottom.
I was just going to mention that.
Sorry, thanks.
Yeah, I think we can probably get rid of this parks and leave parks and open space.
Maybe we could change recreational service to communities facility or community.
Yeah,
that would be better.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, because we have zoning and building code enforcement. So unless you've built a house or are renovating, how much interaction might they have with those two departments?
We can do a non-applicable to.
I'm just thinking for some people, you wouldn't have a reason to even have access with public works unless you maybe had an issue or your streets under construction. And there's a problem.
Yeah, that just reminded me that we can add something on our scale so that people, if they haven't engaged with any of these services, then they can choose not applicable or don't know.
And I don't know, it's church and government are separate, but am I missing that there's nothing on here about anything religious for, I mean, it's Lewis County. We have a pretty strong faith-based community. There's no faith-based section on here. And that's pretty important to many people, having, whether it be a church or whatever your choice is, in feeling part of that community. Does anyone disagree?
No.
No, I think that's excellent.
Yeah, I agree. How does houses of worship sound, Lisa?
Yep, perfect. Excellent wordsmithing.
Those are all really good.
Are the fire service and ambulance service the same town and village wide?
Yes.
Because that'll, if they're not, then you're going to get different answers depending on, different services. But it's good if they are the same for everybody that's going to fill this out.
Right, yeah.
So should I put fire and ambulance into the same?
No, those are separate.
Oh, there's, okay.
Carla perking up for us back there. It should we also have for streets and roads, because not everybody, once you get out of the village, is on a street, they're on a road. And I know it seems like semantics, but.
Mm-hmm. So we could do state and county, or state road, or state highways, county highways, and local roads.
Yeah, I don't want to add a ton of extra columns. I just know when you don't live in the village, you're on likely a road. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if people would answer that in the town, since I don't know, maybe I'm getting too much into semantics.
Well, I think it would be helpful for your highway supervisors to know whether their local roads are rated poorly,
Sure. And by commercial properties, we're talking about business properties, or were we really meaning at the bottom, like rentals? Did they mean, because when I think commercial, I think, can I open up a business there, or can I shop there? When I think commercial, but I don't see rental on here.
Would retail, I guess.
I'm not sure where they were going with
I
that.
don't know. Yeah, I guess you could go in a couple directions. You could say retail, which I think people might be a little more colloquial.
Yes.
And then you could also add a whole new one that says rental properties.
Well, I'm just thinking housing stock in general is a really hot commodity in the town and the village to find either A, affordable, or B, good quality housing. So, and I don't see anything about housing on here.
No.
I mean, if you're moving to the area, I would assume Kevin has faced this dilemma, even with all of Cassie's help, trying to find an apartment right now, if you didn't buy, is really challenging.
Sure. Actually, fortunately, my family had a cabin in Forestport, so it really was very serendipitous. I can't see the top of this, but is there anything about is there anything about food access on here? Like in terms of like supermarkets or restaurants or anything like that?
No, we don't have that. So I'll add rental properties, Lisa, and we can add supermarkets or grocery stores. What was the other ones you mentioned, Kevin? Oh, like farmers markets, things like that, or maybe that's captured.
Yeah. Is restaurants appropriate? I don't.
I think so. I'm glad you brought that
restaurants,
up.
nightlife. Yeah. All right. And not to get off topic on this one, it was just something that came to me retrospectively. When you're talking about the commuting, I was wondering if it made sense to talk about like modes of transportation. Whether, that, shameless plug with, our public bus system, but also just like, how often people, complete discretionary travel on foot or on bike, like frequency, or I don't know how that would be framed, but it would just be interesting to capture how often people complete, besides walking the dog, do they walk anywhere? Do they bike anywhere? Do they take the bus?
And I was thinking, I'd love to know if they've actually utilized the bus service ever. Whether it's a one-time event like you're setting up on Small Business Saturday, or just because you actually utilize it to get around to get your groceries because you don't drive anymore.
There's
That'd be a good question.
here, there is a transportation question that was in the community profile that I want to show you guys that maybe we can see. There's here, you guys seeing what I'm seeing here? Here, I'll make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. So this is the question I had mentioned to you that was travel time to work. So that's basically the categories that the American Community Survey uses for the census. And then this one we could ask, oh, how do you get to work? And then have drive alone, carpooled, walked, worked at home, taxi, motorcycle, but we can break out taxi, motorcycle, bicycle, those ones too, and public transportation.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the survey. All right, I will see where that makes the most sense and I'll add that in. Okay. Good ideas, Kevin. We've got a good list going. Anything else you guys wanted to add to it?
Color, do you have anything from an education perspective that you think we're missing? Because honestly, we don't have internet on here. We don't have access to internet, and we have all this remote working and learning happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to give us anything different than what we probably already know, but
That's a good idea.
There you go. So I got broadband in there too. That's a good question to include. And then luckily on top of that, Cassie, did you want to do I'm going to just stop the sharing real quick. Cassie, have you been in discussions about the broadband survey that Lewis County is developing? I think Cassie might have stepped away. So I'll, I guess for the village and the board, Lewis County they're in partnership with the Development Authority of the North Country to put together, hey Cassie, I'm explaining them a little bit about the broadband survey that Lewis County's about to unleash in like a week.
Yep.
So feel free to did you want to tell them about it? You probably know a little bit
I
more.
can just quickly go over it. So as you know, for the last, 3 or 4, going on 5 years, there's been a couple different parties that have tried to expand broadband in the Lewis County area. The first time was Mohawk Networks. They received a grant from ESD, and they were halfway through it and had already exhausted their budget. So they had applied for more money. ESD turned them down, and then ESD granted that, or gave the grant to Frontier Communications. Frontier Communications should be finishing up shortly in the next month or so, but it's still going to leave a lot of gaps. So we've partnered with DANK to do this county-wide. Actually, it's going to be like a regional. I think they're looking for St. Lawrence County and Jefferson County to also sign on to it, where this consultant is actually going to go and drive down all the roads and try to find where the holes are with the broadband service. And then we're doing a survey next, I think Monday is when it's launching, where the community members can take a speed test. You don't need to know anything about how many megabytes your internet is. You can actually take a speed test right from your home, and it'll capture that data on what your internet service is. And then you'll fill out survey questions. What do you use your internet for? How many people are in your household? Stuff like that. So we can really identify how much broadband we need and in what area. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And I guess for the purposes of this, obviously that'll be really useful information for this committee. Once that information is available. Cassie, do you know how long you guys are going to keep the survey open for?
I feel like it was going to be a few months. Yeah, I feel like it's launching. I knew it was supposed to launch actually today or yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's the 9th.
Yeah, but we didn't want the election to take care of or take away from the publicity of it. So
Right.
So, but I can get back to the group on the timeline.
Thanks. So I guess the question for this committee is whether you want to ask your own, I mean, maybe it's enough just to leave the question as we had it. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. You know, just having a broadband question in here about having them rate it from very poor to excellent. And then waiting for the county survey results to come out and incorporate that into the plan.
Would we want to also ask just in general about utilities? Because I was thinking natural gas too is one of those,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not everybody in the village still has it or has access to it yet if they wanted to. I know they're working on it. Did Ed finally show up? Hi, Ed. I know you guys were talking about it on the Ross Road and trying to get natural gas there.
That's, I think, an anomaly. I think anybody else, that's something that JD Ross kind of stumbled upon, I guess. But as far as I know, anybody, I guess the debate was whether, when he, asked to be on the system, whether it was because he's kind of like close to the border. I don't think anybody like in the actual, like, say, middle of the village, I don't think they have any issues, but I could be wrong. But I know that's the issue we've been kicking around for about 3 years.
Right, and that has been taken care of. NICEC actually has said that they are going to run gas to his farm and take care of all that.
Is it available outside of the village limits? I really don't know
No.
that answer. Okay.
No,
So maybe it's not pertinent. I was just looking at utilities as general. I mean, we ask about so many other things. Utility choices are interesting.
Yeah, the generalization of the phrase utilities, I think, is a good idea. I think, you know, there's other.
Okay. Anything else? Have a good list going there. Okay, so we'll move on for that. The next question is, how much do you agree with the following statements about your current zoning regulations? And we've got the current, we might be able to rephrase some of these so they make a little more sense. So basically they would strongly disagree or strongly agree with the statement. So the first one is the current zoning regulations improve the quality of the village or town.
Here, you're really going to want to break this out into village, a question for village and a question for town, since they're, you know, two completely different laws.
We should be able to mine that with the first in the demographics, where it asks whether if they live in the village or they live in the town. But we could separate them out here. What do you think?
I agree, you need to separate them, but however you do it on your survey,
Mm-hmm.
fine with me. If your survey allows electronic to just know that it's for the village only or the town based on where you live, I'm fine with that. Will that work though if people do paper and they don't do electronic? Are you going to need it branched out then?
Yeah, it would work, because the way we're going to do the paper surveys is it'll be kind of like like the election box, right? Like your security box. And then they'll fill out their survey, they'll throw it in the box, and then we'll have, you know, someone from the village and from the town or somebody else, maybe a volunteer, will type in the paper surveys into the online survey. And then that way we'll have everything tabulated together. That's the idea, at least.
Sounds good.
It's up to the town and village if they want to go through and tabulate or input all those surveys, right? The paper ones, that is. But anyway, I duly noted, Matt. I've got it down, and I'm going to do a couple test runs through with the survey and see if I can mine it so that it makes sense.
Okay.
We can keep talking about that. Okay. The second statement is the current zoning regulations are too restrictive. Strongly disagree all the way to strongly agree.
Can we have an open-ended question on here, though? One of the
Sure.
examples you sent in the survey, somebody had written all over about how the town and the village should be together, the village should be dissolved. And there's not a lot of opportunity when you do something electronic to write those in. So if someone thinks it's too restrictive and put strongly, agree, I would really like to know why. And I can't believe I would be the only person.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that they have faced that they felt was too restrictive?
Okay. Yeah, we can put a comments section right after that.
Yeah.
We can say, please, let's see here. Yeah, I'll do like an explain further type question. Okay, good. All right. Any other zoning regulation questions you guys want to add? Okay, so we are probably only halfway through the survey right now, and we're an hour into our meeting. So I know I don't want to keep us on here too long. Did anybody have any big questions that they wanted to cover that they were going through when they did their review? Okay, not hearing any, so we're gonna try and go through then a little bit quickly these next ones, just for the sake of time. But if we don't get through everything today, we can always either plan another special meeting, or we can leave it for the next month. How does that sound to everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so our next question is, how much do you agree or disagree with the following growth and development objectives for the next 10 years? We've got a list here. Again, it's from a strongly disagree to a strongly agree statement. The growth and development objectives are support increased recreational opportunities, support increased residential construction, attract new business, commercial development, control the rate of development, protect environmental quality, provide low, moderate income housing. So we do get a housing question there. Provide more lawn area in residential district, protect historical structures, maintain and improve open space. I'm going to stop here at 10 so we can talk about those if you wanted any changes. And the 10th one is improve traffic flow in the village. We've got some more, but of those ones, were there any that you wanted to add, edit, or remove? Okay. Hearing none, the next 10 are encourage job growth, encourage orderly growth, encourage increased residential development, encourage increased commercial business, encourage manufacturing industrial development, encourage home businesses, encourage tourism, require on-site parking for new businesses, review parking lot layouts prior to construction, and lastly, require green buffers around parking lots.
So I have a question on encourage orderly growth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Purpose to that question? So subjective.
It is.
Just, and it doesn't say if it's orderly growth of business, of housing, I didn't, what kind of growth are we talking about? Population
Yeah.
growth?
Yeah, I think the intention here is like physical development of the community. So housing, commercial, if anything that your zoning would deal with.
Man, I'm wondering if a smart
I mean,
growth.
is putting it in.
Go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah.
I'll say I think a lot of us know smart growth, but is it putting it in more conventional terms like reducing sprawl? I mean, I know that's not everything that's in smart growth, but I don't. Yeah.
I personally like smart growth better than orderly growth. That makes it feel negative, like we're never going to change. And if that was what the question's intent was, I don't care for the wording.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Lena, no, I'm sorry. My other question is, should we group together differently? Because I feel like it jumps around. Like we talk about traffic flow and then it moves, and then we talk about green space and parking. Like, would it make more sense to group things together? Or does that give you bad results on your survey? I'm not a statistician, but I feel like it bounces around.
Oh,
So
yeah, no.
if you want to talk about growth and jobs and I don't know what was up here, residential and things like that, I would think they should go together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's easily broken down into 2 questions. Absolutely. And it's nice to break up that list of 20 things too.
Yeah. Elena,
Yep.
18, 19, and 20 is all in zoning and everything now anyways.
Right. Yeah, that might have been included in there back in 1998 because it hadn't been incorporated. So those can get removed if you wanted.
Do away with them now because it's all in planning and zoning. Ruth, what do you think?
Well, we're always changing. I think let's just find out what they, there might be some different ideas. Let's not have tunnel vision. Let's think outside the box. So I did want to add, when we get to roads and stuff, I'd like to know how many people would like more bicycle safe paths.
Bicycle safe paths.
Safe paths.
On top of that, I was going to say.
What?
I was just going to say I was going to add like walkability on top of
Yeah,
that.
well, I'll chime in a little bit. As far as village streets, they're not wide enough to have a car and a bike on it. It's not like a state road.
Right. I was just thinking because this road, and we have a lot of us come down through here.
Would this be a good opportunity to bring up or poll the public with rails to trails?
It could be,
It could be.
absolutely.
I would agree.
Would be a good spot.
I know in the past we were awarded money and we had to hand it back because there didn't seem to be community support, but I feel like things have evolved from then. And I know Kevin and I have talked about how we would like to pursue opportunities for rails to trails, non-motorized trails within the village, because I know that there is such a need and want right now.
And honestly, because of COVID, I think it's increased quite a bit because you see a lot more people on bicycles and, getting outside and doing things. So I would agree with you.
Well, and over the last 5 years, there's been how many people hit on bicycles in the village? So, but we could potentially use these survey results if and when Kevin and I can get an application together for a rails to trails opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great idea. What, Kathy, do you think well, I guess is there a question that comes to mind that would get to the heart of that would be useful for your grant application?
I mean, maybe we just come out and say, support of rails to trails development or use, something along. I don't want to say non-motorized trails because I don't want to be misleading that we would just create a trail. we would most likely need to use the railroad corridor.
Because I'm wondering if the general public would know what Rails to Trails is, or if there's a way to better say that.
Right.
It's conversion of railway roads into, walking trails, right?
Or non-motorized trails, just because technically a lot of people want to use them for just bike paths. Walking trails, bike paths.
Okay. Yeah, if I can add a question in this, maybe a standalone to that, right underneath this.
The rails to trails here, I'd like to see the railroad go down through here again. I know there's a guy that's interested in privately. But when you think about going down through the rail trail down here by the East Road, you're going to get, there's water bogs on each side because there's water down there. There's mosquitoes like crazy. Those are things that would have to be overcome. So I think the trails, maybe, I think we need trails. Maybe we could find them somewhere else. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, that's useful. I'll take note of that.
We may see more push from village residents for the Rails to Trails rather than town of Lowville, I'm guessing.
But I don't think it's that, I mean, I'm not against them. I just think if they put the trail stuff through here, there's a lot more down than what people understand for safety for the people walking. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. I took note of that. I'll put it in as like maybe a parking lot thing that we could come back to later. Okay. So I think we decided that we're going to leave the questions about parking in the buffers. Maybe since it's already in your zoning, maybe you might want to have a question about how well it's doing, or how well you're. I guess that's kind of covered in the zoning question. Any thoughts on that?
Do they need anything else?
What's that?
How well do they like the parking lots, and do they feel they need something else?
Yep. Okay.
And do they need parking?
Yeah. Because if you're thinking also about, making about walkability, where there's also complete streets grants, and maybe Cassie, you might know more about that than I do. And complete streets includes like everything from bike racks and things that let increase the mobility in the village, most likely more than the town. So maybe a complete street type question might be appropriate.
Yeah, and I know that public health and our department had looked at that in the past, and that's definitely something that we wanted to pursue as part of the DRI, is to incorporate complete streets into the village. So if we can get feedback on that too, that would be really beneficial.
Okay.
And that would encompass like even slowing down traffic, roadway design reconfigurations, stuff like that, adding bikes on Village Street.
Yes, with all the talks about bike paths and incomplete streets, there's no questions about the sidewalks. which if we're so concerned with the parking areas and the green spaces around the parking lots, do you need to offer up some opportunity for feedback on the sidewalks in the village? Because not every street has sidewalks.
I definitely would add that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll definitely get something in there then regarding complete streets and sidewalks. Okay. All right, moving down to the next section, we've got what are some of the problems that you have noticed in the Lowville area? And so this is kind of similar to the discourage question, you know, what discourages you from living in Lowville? So maybe this is redundant, but I'll read you what we've got here. We've got lack of employment opportunity, noise and odor from industries and farms, poor drinking water quality, encroachment of commercial uses into residential areas, lack of retail business, deteriorating conditions of downtown, parking issues in areas other than downtown, traffic problems downtown, lack of curbing and storm drainage problems in the village, lack of handicapped accessibility, lack of cultural opportunities, lack of recreational facilities, lack of public transportation, hospital issues, high energy prices, historic properties deteriorating or in danger of demolition, and lastly, inefficiencies and duplication of services with police departments, first responders, recycling and trash.
I will say that since that original survey, they have added public transportation to the Lowville and the town of Lowville. So maybe the lack of public transportation can be taken off that list. Maybe it could be expansion of public. I'm not sure. I know everybody wants more transportation, but whether it's utilized is different.
Problems. How about insufficient transportation?
Or do you look at the lack of options for public transportation? I mean, Cassie's department does a good job with the resources that she has and to make the runs happen and the partnerships that happen, but you still can't use public transportation to go to work. You know, the bus runs don't. So I don't know that it's a lack, it's more about the options. Cassie, what do you think?
Yeah, and the problem with the public transportation system right now is that it's based off of the ARC schedule. So we're limited, and it has to do with funding and ridership. They provide us the ridership we need to get the funding that we need to run the routes. So without that, without the ARC, we don't have a system. So that's where the schedules are customized from. So you're right. I mean, if somebody wants to get from Krogan to Lowville for a 9-to-5 job, it's just not substantial. But for the past year, we've been working on getting a van pool service that's funded by public transportation. So I think that maybe something along the lines of insufficient, even just transportation options, because it's not just public transportation options, it's volunteer transportation center, it's van pooling services, it's all of the above, really.
Okay. That's good. Anything else on the list you guys want to modify? Some problems that you have noticed in Lowville. Okay, we can add an other category too, so people can type in different options. All right, next.
I would think that Elena, you could get rid of that early on question that says what discourages you from living. I think that is redundant with what you just covered. So I think you could get rid of the original question in the interest of simplifying this a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay, good. Okay. Good. So our next question, if there wasn't any other comments on this, is on what are some objectives that you would like to see the town and village of Lowville highlight in the comprehensive plan? It's kind of an open-ended question for them. We can also separate this by town and separate it by village if you prefer.
That would probably be good.
Right. I guess that also goes to the same question that Matt had said, that, I mean, we can mine that so that it's only the people who said I'm a village resident, see what their responses were.
Right.
Okay. Next question is, do you own a business within the Lowville area? And so, so that section 3, this is basically the spouses section. So if the spouse filled that out, if someone said they had a spouse, then they would fill that out. If someone said they didn't have a spouse, then they would jump to this 4th section that has all the same, will have all the same questions. And then we can capture 2 different voices in the same survey. And for either of them, the last question is, do you own a business within the town of Lowville? And that would, if they say yes, again, this is another conditioned answer, so that if they say yes, they'll be prompted to go to the next section, if I keep scrolling, which is the business owner survey. If they say no, then they jump to the next section, which is employment information. So if they say yes, the business owner survey says, what type of business do you own? We've got managerial, professional, retail, sales, service, government, agriculture, skilled tradesmen, education, manufacturing, industrial, clerical, and medical, dental. Any other businesses, industries you'd want to capture?
Is there an option for someone to put that they own a business outside of Lowville?
We could add we can add a question saying, is your business in Lowville?
Like potentially, I mean, it could take those people on a route where they would, you could ask them like why it's located somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, if that's useful to you guys, we can definitely.
I'm coming into this really fresh, so
What was that, Kevin?
I was just saying I'm coming in this really fresh, so I'm just trying to bring something to the table, but
Yeah,
I don't know if
good.
it would be. I mean, everyone has unique, life circumstances, but maybe some people would have some insight into why their business is in Krogan and not Lowville or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, we've got residents that own businesses just outside of Lewis County in general. And why is that? I think if you're going to ask about businesses, and maybe I missed it as I was scrolling through again, but I'd be interested to know how many utilize like either an online presence too as a supplement to their business that's here.
Yeah. So is like, do you have, I guess that what you're trying to get at is, do they have appropriate like internet, services, or do they need those kind of things? Is that what you're trying to get to with that question?
Well, I certainly think that that's a valid question, is do you have the internet access to support your business? If you wanted to grow it, that would be an issue maybe outside of the village. But no, I was just thinking, if you had a small business and you don't have a retail space here, but you live in the village and you run a small business, how much of your business though is online?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what would you do with that data though? What's it tell us about the makeup of our community? Are they feeling promoted and support? Are they feeling promoted and supported?
Yeah, I think that's what you're trying to get at with that question is if you do have online services, do you have what you need? Are you getting, is the marketing appropriate? Things of that nature, maybe. Cassie, I guess from a county perspective, what would that sort of question be useful for looking for anything particular?
I'm thinking that might be a better economic development Brittany question. But I mean, there's so many different ways that you can use that information to, okay, so they have an online platform. Do they have enough parcel services nearby? How far, do you have to pay extra to have the shipments picked up at your house rather than, maybe a village business that's able to just drop them off at the post office, stuff like that. I mean, you could use that for, but I'm not sure as if you'd be able to really attract UPS or FedEx to set up a shop in Lowville. That would be great if UPS could set up a shop in Lowville. That'd be fantastic. But what are the odds that I'm not sure. I mean, any information as I see it can be utilized across any of the different departments in Lewis County.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we operate a lot. So if we can use the information, I know another department that would love it. So I don't think the question is a bad question, but it's just up to the committee and what they think would be useful for their purposes.
Thanks, Cassie. Okay, so yeah, we can add, Lisa, one that is your business online. And maybe have an open-ended question. If so, what are some things that are missing, for your business to be successful, something along those lines.
Yeah, or some services that would support your.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so good. Where did it go? Okay, so we are 2 minutes from 8. How do you guys want to proceed? We've been at it for an hour and a half. I'll open the floor. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to keep going? Did you want to wait until next month to finish this? Or did you want to roll it out soon? So maybe we need to have another meeting in the next week or two.
Have another meeting in a couple weeks. Meeting in a couple weeks.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Does that work for you, Carla? Yeah.
Yes, depending on the night.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Ruth?
I will work at it. And I do have a question. Is that on the material so that I can pull that up?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Google.
Yeah. What I'll do, Ruth, is I'll forward you some of the emails, and so you have them in your email. Does that work for you?
Right. That would work wonderful.
Did everybody else get the links to the Google Drive folder? Have any issues with that? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I think having it be 8 o'clock, we might want to call the meeting off. We'll close it for now and build it back up in a couple of weeks. Does anyone want to throw out a date? Looking at calendars.
2 weeks from today is the 18th, and then the week after that is Thanksgiving week. So I'd suggest we stay away from Thanksgiving week.
Good idea.
And the 18th, we have zoning board meeting at 6:30. I don't know if planning board meets that night as well.
Planning and zoning is the same night.
Yes, I'm assuming they have a meeting.
Usually they have a meeting.
Yeah.
Want to jump to next Wednesday while it's fresh in my memory? Or first
That's
night?
Veterans Day. I don't know if
Oh,
that
Veterans
matters.
Day, that's right.
It doesn't necessarily matter.
Evening, it doesn't,
Yeah, that would work for me if I don't have, yeah, Veterans Day would work for me.
Off, that works for me.
yeah.
Any particular time? Morning, afternoon, evening?
I don't know.
30,
What was that?
6:30.
6:30 again?
Yep.
Okay, so next Wednesday at 6:30. Okay, and we'll use the same Zoom link too, so you don't have to be on the lookout for a new link. We'll use the same one. And before we sign off, I'll just say we are really close to the end of the survey. The only two sections left to go over is employment information and additional comments, which is almost kind of just a no-brainer there. So I think our next meeting will probably be focusing a lot more on the procedure of the survey, how we want to get it out, and what the process is for that. And Cassie and Kevin, you guys are welcome to be a part of that conversation if you want to be and if you're able to.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Take care.
See you.
Bye.
You guys all want to come here and do it like this, or you want to sign in from your houses and do a Zoom? I mean, I don't care. We can get the computer fired up and do it here like this.
What
Or
do you want?
I'll do it at my house if no